When I started building a house in Ormoc 2 decades ago, folks back home asked me if I really thought I could live in a development country like the Philippines, being born and raised in a welfare state. In this episode of Ormoc Revisited, I will answer that question, as well as why I like Ormoc. Just for the record, I would like to state that I have no intentions of moving to the Philippines at this point in my life. Even though I'm retired, I still have responsibilities in my home country that are far more important to me. I just want to reply to this question that was raised 20 years ago when I was married to a Filipina that came from a poor family. I had made it my life's mission to improve the quality of life of my family-in-law, and that included building a house that was big enough for all of them to live in. When I divorced my wife, I became the victim of my own empathy. But that's a different story that I don't want to go into right now. The purpose of this episode is to answer the question if I could live in this country. And the answer is yes, but. Yes, I could live in the Philippines, but not under any conditions. Many people here still live in wooden houses without indoor plumbing, and I couldn't live that way. But luckily, I wouldn't have to, because I'm fortunate enough to be able to afford a better kind of housing. I need a proper bathroom with a shower, with hot and cold water, and a toilet with a seat and a flush. In the West, this is all standard, but in the Philippines, most houses don't have hot water, and the toilet has to be flushed with a bucket. This brings me to the topic of rent or buy. I bought the land in Ormoc, built a very nice house on it, and lost it all to my ex-wife when I divorced her. So no, I would never buy again in a country that has laws against foreign land ownership. But there are actually 3 reasons why I deem it smarter to rent than to buy. I already explained the first reason. As a foreigner, you cannot own land in the Philippines, and you will see all your money go down the drain if your relationship grows sour. But there are 2 more equally valid reasons not to buy real estate in the Philippines. The Philippines is prone to natural disasters such as super typhoons, flash floods, landslides and earthquakes. Apart from taking many lives, these catastrophes destroy infrastructure, including buildings. When Typhoon Yolanda, internationally known as Haiyan, hit the Visayas on the 8th of November 2013, it destroyed several of my windows and lifted the roof off of my house, despite the very strong steel trusses. This happened when I was already preparing my divorce, so I didn't shoulder those costs anymore. But I know that it took my ex 2 years to find enough money to repair all the damage. The lesson learned here is that if you own a house and calamity strikes, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to restore everything to its original condition. If you are renting, you just move to another house or even another location where there is no damage, and all you lose is your 2 months' deposit. The third reason why I would be more inclined to rent is that you live on an island, which restricts your movement. In Belgium, I can get into my car and in 2 or 3 hours' time, I can be in the Netherlands, Germany, Luxembourg or France. If I don't mind driving a couple of days, I can make it to Italy, Spain, Austria, Switzerland, Scandinavia, and so many more countries. The same applies for people living in the USA. Interstate traffic by road is easy. Here in the Philippines, each of the more than 1,700 islands is bordered by an ocean. If you want to go to another island, you have to take a boat or a plane. You can easily do so if you want to go for a vacation, but moving with all your belongings is a different story. Now you might say, why would I want to move to another island once I like it somewhere? Well, also for that there may be different reasons. I have seen many discussions in Facebook groups where people testify about moving a few islands away from their Filipinas family to get rid of the constant money begging. But even if you don't have that problem with your in-laws, the things to see and do on such an island are limited, and it's not unthinkable that, after a few years, you want to expand your horizons and enjoy a different environment. Owning a property will hold you back. When you are renting, making that decision is easy peasy. Another argument that people would use when they questioned if I would be able to live in the Philippines is that Filipinos have a different culture, different customs, a different mentality, and so on. Let me counter that argument with a true story. When I went to school 50 to 60 years ago, all pupils belonged to the same culture. I went to a Catholic boys' school, and we were all male Caucasians with native Belgian parents. If you go to that same school today, you will find a variety of races, nationalities, religions, etc. In half a century, society moved from being monocultural to being multicultural. One may like it or dislike it, but it's a reality we have to live with. Many of these cultures are much further away from ours than the Filipino culture which, thanks to the Spanish occupation, still identifies as Christian. 85% of Filipinos belong to the Roman Catholic faith, and apart from a very small Muslim minority, the other 15% consists of different Christian denominations such as born-again Christians, Iglesia ni Cristo, Jehovah's Witnesses, and many others. Hence, cultural adaptation will be easier when moving to the Philippines than when staying in Belgium or any other Western country for that matter. Yes, you will have to adapt to certain customs that are different from ours. I already mentioned the Filipino driving style in the previous episode, and punctuality is not something you should expect from a Filipino. If you have an appointment with someone at 9 a.m., be glad if they arrive before noon. That is not what we are used to in our culture, but don't get upset about it because they are not going to change. When moving to another country, make your best effort to do what you wish foreigners in your own country would do. Adapt to the local culture rather than expecting the locals to accommodate foreign cultural desires.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Hey, you are still watching. Does that mean you like this video? Because if you do, why not give me a thumbs up? Or even better, subscribe if you haven't done so already. You know it is free. And if you'd like to share your thoughts or experiences, that's what the comment section is for. But please keep it constructive. And now, without further ado, I will let you continue watching. Now let's talk about why I like Ormoc. And this is strictly my personal point of view. Others may like other places in the Philippines for different reasons. If I should move to the Philippines as a retiree, I would avoid metropolitan cities such as Manila, Cebu or Davao. Much too hectic. I have lived in Antwerp all my life, worked in Brussels for years, and I've had it with the hustle and bustle of the big city. Even if I were living in Ormoc, I would choose one of the more rural barangays rather than the city centre. I love Bohol, but rather as a tourist destination than as a place to take up residence. The island has some very nice beaches, but once you have seen the Chocolate Hills, the Tarsiers, the man-made forest and the Lobok River, you've kind of had it. Ormoc is a first-class independent component city in the eastern Visayas region. It is the economic, cultural, commercial and transportation hub of Western Leyte. When I first visited Ormoc in 1999, it wasn't a very attractive place, with very little to do. But since then, the development of the city has soared. There are now several shopping malls, hotels, restaurants, beach resorts and tourist attractions. There is a good choice of hospitals and schools. In my humble opinion, Ormoc combines many of the features of the larger cities in the Philippines within the smaller scale of a provincial city without losing its rural character. It is far less touristic than, for example, Bohol or Boracay. It's nice to be a tourist among tourists, but as a resident, do you really want all those tourists around you? A lot of expats opt for Dumaguete, on Negros Island. I have never been there, but I follow several vloggers who live there, and it seems a very nice place. A bit busy maybe, but if you want to avoid the crowds, you can always go to Valencia or other municipalities just outside Dumaguete. Some people like Dumaguete because of its large expat community. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. But is that really what you want? If you want to spend most of your time hanging out with other Westerners, wouldn't it be better to stay in the West? I see the same thing happening here in Antwerp, within the Filipino community. Most Filipinas hang out with other Filipinas and hardly have any Belgian friends, which stands in the way of proper integration. If I would live in the Philippines, I'm not sure I would go to a place that is crowded with other Europeans or Americans. While I recognize the benefits of knowing some people with similar cultural backgrounds, I don't think I would make them my priority. People move to another country because they want change, and you are not going to get that by surrounding yourself with the same kind of people you left behind. Hey guys, these are personal opinions. I fully understand that different expats have different priorities. Fortunately, because if we all like the same place, it wouldn't be fun anymore. Before saying goodbye, I want to show you the apartment I'm renting through Airbnb. It's conveniently located in the city of Ormoc, right across a restaurant and only a 10 minutes walk away from SM Mall. It will take you about 20 minutes to walk all the way to the seashore, and if you don't like walking, tricycles are readily available and dead cheap. This is an apartment for 2 people and has all the amenities you can dream of. It also has good internet. What appeals to me the most is the friendliness and helpfulness of Brolia, the owner of this apartment, and her partner Jean, who live in a house right next to the apartment on the same lot. I must say that Brolia and Jean went out of their way to make my stay as comfortable as possible. I immediately saw that they are very nice people and decided I wanted to get to know them better. Thus I invited them to my favourite restaurant in the outskirts of Ormoc at the Sabine Resort Hotel. Because it is out of the city, it's a bit more difficult to go to if you don't have your own transportation. But now we could go there together in Jean's car.
Please subscribe to Danny Paul's channel. Please subscribe to Danny Paul's channel.